Today I'm exploring Qatar. Qatar, of course, being in the Middle East, and again, a very oil-rich nation, not unlike the UAE or Saudi Arabia. One of the things about Qatar that has been in the news in the last couple of years was they had the World Cup. We look at some of the football stadiums that they have. These were kind of crazy football stadiums because they were built just for the World Cup. Some will be dismantled again, and they were actually air conditioned in the desert, basically. So it all seemed a little bit crazy. That was one of them, I think. This is a similar one. Just very crazy building structures. Quite cool to look at, of course. A lot of them were built with foreign labor. Most of the people in Qatar are actually foreigners. I think it's about 300,000 are locals and about 2.3 million or something in that region are expats or foreign labor. We have a little bit of a better picture of one of the stadiums from the outside. They are definitely very beautiful stadiums, these places, but of course, kind of pointless if we only keep them for a couple of years. Still, I wanted to show them because they're one of the more famous things to see in Qatar. One of the other things that's kind of cool in Doha, the capital, is they have, again, some of these cool artificial islands that they've created. This is called the Pearl in Qatar. Very, very pretty to see it from the sky. Very interesting marina there. And we have different residential units here. And yeah, just a nice bit of architecture, I suppose, if we were to enjoy it from that point of view. Similar ideas being created offshore here with these islands. I wanted to point those out. I think these are like racetracks. I see these, saw them in the UAE as well. These just random round tracks. They're a little bit like maybe for racing cars, I can imagine. Of course, the Middle East was very famous for horse racing. Arab horses, of course, are a fast type of horse in their own right. I don't think you'd race horses on tarmac at them though, so it's probably to do with cars in this particular instance. The main thing to look at today really is the oil pipelines. So here we have a random, I suppose it's kind of a depot for gas or oil, but it's the pipeline that intrigued me the most. And if the maps allow me, I'm going to show you all of these pipelines and where they go and where they come from. Here we have electricity being transported on these pylons, and they're going exactly alongside these buried oil pipelines. Now we zoom out a bit, we can follow these. Here they kind of split. The electricity goes to the power station to the more north, and the oil continues to this huge industrial area. The power plant's over here. This is one of the power plants. You can see all the different chimneys kind of render there. Yeah, those are huge chimneys, by the way. Gas is one of the massive producers of power in Qatar. I think gas is probably the main source of power. And of course, there are huge gas and oil reserves in Qatar in general. They produce, if I got this correct, they produce almost as much oil energy as UAE production. It's about 10 quadrillion BTU, most of that being oil and gas being the primary one. And they only use about two themselves. But if we go back to the UAE's indicator here, we could just get the UAE open here. They also produce 10, according to US government data. That's a surprise to me because there's a much bigger area of land in the UAE than in Qatar to be getting all of these resources from. So that obviously is a very big deal for the economy in general in in Qatar. Qatar is one of the world's poorer countries. They were a poor pearl diving economy, similar to the UAE, and I guess many of the Gulf states in general. If we continue with the maps here, this is just a massive area. I'm assuming a lot of refinery work going on here as well. Look into the, it's just like a maze of various pipes all jumbled together. Would be again very cool to explore these sort of places in person, but it would just be a massive. You could probably walk for days around these places and see something new all the time. Yeah, huge, massive storage units as well. And what kind of was then interesting to me is this is the end of the pipeline. So boats can come in, they can get their gas here. That is a gas, so LNG terminal, I suppose, or some form of gas being put onto that ship. These spheres, of course, we saw these in my Bangladesh video where they were breaking these out of ships once they were no longer fit for purpose, or at least being sold on and not being used anymore. Look at the extension of this entire port. Very interesting. We have more boats there, big cranes working on them. This is an oil rig, an oil or a gas rig, being probably getting some maintenance work before going back out to sea again. Or maybe it's just being constructed. This is a shipbuilding yard, I suppose, or a dry dock at the very least. This is a very big boat, being getting some maintenance here, whether it's being built or being maintained. I suppose I don't think Qatar is really big for shipbuilding, so it's probably just a dry dock for maintenance. It's probably my best guess. Very cool. You can see how these are actually going to work. The boat goes in, the doors close, and the water can then flood out. In this case here, anyway. That's actually quite interesting. I hadn't seen that beforehand. Okay, let's move a little bit back towards the mainland. because that's what I actually want to look at, is this very long pipeline. So we can kind of see it from the sky. Pipeline continues along here, goes south extremely fast. I think it goes to the left here, continues further south here again. There's actually two of them, left and right here. And at some point we wind up well south of the main city of Doha, and we end up, it kind of comes around here and ends up on the coast here. And I did track it a little bit better earlier on, but we end up, this is one power plant here, where some of it is ending up at. But a little bit further north is a little bit more interesting. I do have it open on a different tab, so I might just skip to that. This is the one here. This is a huge power plant, again. But what was more interesting to me were these lines disappearing off into the sea. And it is my opinion, after consulting some maps from Wikipedia, that these are lines going to offshore oil and gas reserves. Halul Island, which has around it a very large petroleum, amount of petroleum fields. To the north, we have got a gas reserve, natural gas, but this is, in this case, actually visible on the maps for the petroleum reserve. So when we follow these lines out, at some point the maps always kind of die offshore because there's no point in storing all the data, I guess, for just seas. But when we follow them out, this one actually, this one's even more, oh no, it's the same one, yeah. You can see there's even more going on to the north here. If we go to one of the other maps that I have, I'll just close this one. We saw that one already. We'll close this one as well. And that one also. And that one too. If we follow it out, we come to this island called Halul Island. Halul Island, yeah. In the middle, really in the middle of the sea. I mean, this is really quite far out now from the coastline. And it's still part of Qatar. And on it, we see these huge oil tanks. Assuming it's oil because it's a petroleum field out there. And when we go to the bottom of the island, we'll see again these pipelines coming back into the island. Now, two theories. One, these are oil pipelines coming from the oil rigs into the island, or these are the oil pipes going all the way out to what we just saw on the coast of Qatar. I'm thinking maybe here there could be some oil being going out through here as well. Maybe up at this point. This looks like there's an oil pipeline going to the sea here, maybe. You can kind of see that line following there, tracing into here. Thought that was maybe an opportunity for oil to escape. This looks like a big tank in construction. If we follow the line itself, this one here, so it comes out from the ocean onto the shore, comes into this kind of refinery unit, or at least storage unit, I guess it's not been refined quite yet, and then into the tanks. I thought that was pretty cool that we could literally follow the line all the way through. Some of it goes further north here into bigger tanks again. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool to see. They have some interesting building structures here too, kind of round, hexagonal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, not quite hexagon, but yeah, interesting shapes that they've built. Got kind of sports areas here as well for the workers working on this pretty remote island, I suppose. Not really much going on here. That looks like a pipeline there as well, actually. Interesting. Yeah, I'd imagine these are the ones going out to the oil rigs. It's a pity that the maps don't render out as far as the oil rigs, but yeah, I can understand. It would also be pretty hard to find them out in the abyss like that. I found a similar island. This belongs to the UAE. This is just a little bit south of it. Again, you see the mad amount of infrastructure on these bits of sand, basically, these rocks in the sea. A lot more people living there than probably would normally be the case. There wouldn't be oil in the region. And again, they've got similar infrastructure. Now, this is a UAE island, so we're not going to spend too long on it. But I thought they were cool. Yeah, various cranes there. Zoom out again from that. So this is Halul up here, and that's the UAE one. So you can see the place is just dotted with islands, which is very good for being able to extract all of those oil and gas reserves out of the region. Now that North gas reserve, it's out here somewhere, but there's no land, so I couldn't really identify anything. This is this is Shroa Island. If we go back to Halul for a minute, I think it's this one. So this is Halul up there. This is Shroa Island. This is still a Qatar island. So this still belongs to Qatar, I believe. The thing I found cool about this island was these things. It is my mistake. I thought maybe these were some form of tank or something, but no, they're not an oil tank. They're not any kind of defense mechanism. They're something much more basic and straightforward, in that they are, according to this picture, they're just little tent structures. So not that dramatic at all. I was thinking maybe something more cooler than that, but no, something very basic. So this is more like a holiday island. Not much in the way of gas reserves being pumped onto this particular place in the middle of the Gulf. Okay, we zoom out again. Qatar overall is a very empty country. Most people, 80% live in Doha. The rest of it is just desert. I mean, you can zoom into any particular part of the island, of the Reed Peninsula, and it's just, yeah, just this kind of barren. It isn't even sandy compared to the like Saudi Arabian region. It's much more mixed in color, not really the huge sand dunes that you would see in Saudi Arabia. This is some random farm, or I guess place where people are living. This color is interesting. I haven't really figured out what these are. Sometimes I would say that this could even be like pollution from oil because it's just so dark and there's no particular greenery on it, but I'm assuming it's not oil. That would be a bit crazy, surely, if that was oil. But yeah, you can see it's all over the place. It may be greenery for growing stuff, but I really don't know. They probably have got a similar strategy of pumping water out from the reservoirs deep underground. There really isn't an awful lot of greenery for growing stuff. You do have these, again, we've been seeing these in videos before, where they have these kind of yeah, circular irrigation systems where they do grow some things. This looks a bit like, I was thinking maybe that was palms, but no, it's not. Dates, of course, are something that is grown in these regions. There were places like this. Okay, this is again not what I was thinking it would be. This is curious. Look at the different shapes. That's more like maybe sand dunes, maybe. I am very curious about these darker spots. Are they bushes, maybe shrubs? Probably some sort of shrub that is growing there. But yeah, you can see more of these circles again here. Yeah, looks pretty cool. We zoom out a bit more. That's just, yeah, that's up here. There must be some sort of water reservoir they're tapping into, that there is a higher concentration of greenery in this area. There's actually more concrete and metal and, yeah, infrastructure than there is greenery in the country from what we see in the map. That is kind of a curious thing. Over here we have the Havar Islands. These belong to Bahrain and not to Qatar, even though Qatar is like right here, basically 1 nautical mile, and Bahrain is 10 nautical miles away. That's something that I read up on Wikipedia. So that's part of some sort of dispute. Of course, all these places became independent after the British wouldn't protect them anymore from the Trucial states. Here we have another interesting, I guess these are like some sort of racing tracks or something. If we turn off the labels, no, that didn't help an awful lot. This could be horse racing, could it? No. That looks like sand, but then why would you have these weird corners? No, that doesn't make sense to me either. I'm pretty perplexed what these structures are. They look like racing tracks because they've got lighting. They do. They've got lighting all the way. Um, that's curious. Is there a stadium structure as well? Don't see anything particularly there. Very distinct colors. Like that's definitely a much darker brown. That's a bigger loop, and you got different colors. I mean, it kind of ultra reminds me of greyhound racing, but it's just way too big for that. So I imagine it is horses. That's a helicopter landing pad in the middle of it all. Very curious. What's this region called, I wonder? Labels. We get Al Torioro. Curious. I'm going to pause it for a second, see if I can find it. This was very unexpected. This is a camel race track, and oh, it was worth me stopping the video to research it. Okay, this is really weird. So they have camels. The camels go on the inside, they go on the sandy bit. On the outside, you have guys in cars who have a remote control for a robot jockey that controls the camel. So they're driving along. The camel is running, and there's a robot on it telling the camel where to go via controls from the guy in the SUV. This is so strange. I have some pictures here. This is the robot. This is the robot on the camel. And the reason why they use robots is because they used to use 4-year-old children, which used to be starved to be as light as possible in order to make the camel be as quick as possible. So basically, the guy is now in the car and he's controlling it. But back in the day, it was very different. These are the robots they have now. This is crazy. I think this is so weird. It has, of course, been a very old tradition. And we go into the Wikipedia for a minute. A robot jockey, commonly used in camel racing, is a replacement for human jockeys, developed in 2004, where the robots are phasing out the use of humans due to the human rights abuses of basically 4-year-old children who were often sold into slavery, child slave trade for camel jockeys, involving the kidnapping of children or people selling their children into this setup, basically. Really, really weird story. Yeah, very unexpected. The robots themselves are these days, I think, 2 to 3 kilos. Before that, there were heavier ones up to 18 kilos, which were being used for 2 or 3 kilos now. So it's actually a good thing, I suppose, for the kids. But still a very weird thing. There's a robot driving animals. The robots are remote controlled by operators being driven alongside the track in these cars, in these SUVs. Yeah, that is something really weird. But there you go. So that's kind of explains the weirdness of the track. So they're not really doing loops. They're kind of going from A to B. There is no continuation here. Which I thought, normally in a loop you'd probably imagine they'd go all the way around, but yeah, not in this case. And this is the center of camel racing in Qatar. If we go into this page here, I suppose. Nope, no, thank you. Professional camel racing began in 1972 in Qatar. The sport centers around the Al Shahaniya racetrack, which is the one we just showed you there. Remote controlled toddler-sized robot jockeys clothed in colourful racing silks delight locals and tourists as they ride the lanky mammals across the sandy track up to speeds of 40 miles per hour or 30 miles per hour for as long as an hour. The operator applies the whip antenna commands, basically with a whip, the jockey to pull. The robotic jockey uses to pull on the reins and shouts encouragement to the camel via built-in speaker. It's just really strange. It's just really, really weird. Oh, and you can actually drive alongside the track as a tourist as well. So weird. So strange. I wonder how safe that is as well, driving along the track while the race is on. And you've also people driving along to watch the race as you go. Oh, do we have a car here? I suppose that's something, yeah, on the track anyway. Anyway, there you go. So we have different circuits, different lengths of track. That is a big surprise, but there you go. Some of the things this is the reason why I make these videos, to learn these random things. I really think that, when I see something as interesting as this, it's been worth making a video. Okay, don't think I have much more to show you today, guys. I think that's kind of as interesting as it's going to get. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope you have a good day. Enjoy yourselves.